I'll call the regular council meeting of Tuesday, June 13th, 2023 to order at 6 p.m. Just start the meeting. I know I talked about this last time as well, but as we begin our meeting today, 14,000 Albertans continue to be evacuated from their homes and communities. There are 76 wildfires with 24 burning out of control. 6 evacuation orders remain in effect. Around 1.3 million hectares have burned in our province. Please help in ways you can. Please send positive thoughts of safety of our neighbors and for rain. As our province and citizens navigate this overwhelmingly and extremely challenging situation in their lives, we're reminded that supporting each other is crucial and critical to the well-being of all Albertans. And with that, I will have we don't have any additions, Ethan, for the agenda? A motion to accept the agenda as presented. Councillor Williams, you're getting right at it.
Yeah.
You missed?
I missed making motions. Thank you, Mayor. I move to adopt the agenda as presented.
Any other comments? Call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. We have the minutes of May 23rd, 2023 from the regular council meeting. Your motion, Deputy Mayor.
I move that we adopt the May 23rd, 2023 regular council meeting minutes as presented.
Any comments? Questions? Call the vote then. All in favor? That's carried. Tonight we have a public hearing on bylaw 2022-15 Creekside Area Structure Plan and bylaw 2022-16 to amend bylaw 2012-09 MDP. So I'll recess for our council meeting and I will call the meeting to order, the public meeting to order at 6:03 p.m. So, first of all, welcome everyone. The public hearing is held in accordance with Section 230 of the Municipal Government Act. We ask that everyone turn their cell phones off and that all questions and comments be made through the chair when called upon. Everyone who so desires will have the opportunity to be heard, but it will be done in an orderly fashion, as directed by the chair. Each presenter, when called upon, will take their place at the presenter's table and state and spell your name for the record. Please remember to turn on the microphone, which I'll assist you with if you need that. We ask that all presenters keep their comments brief and that you not repeat points that have already been made. The purpose of this hearing is for council to consider all relevant information that we may require in making our decision on this matter. So the purpose of the meeting, as I mentioned, is to consider the following: the bylaw 2022-15 Creekside Area Structure Plan and bylaw 2022-16 Municipal Development Plan Amendment. These collectively are part of a proposal to create new industrial and residential development within the area known as the Creekside Development in the north part of town. And I think it says the map should be up there for that right now. Thank you. These were first considered at a council meeting on November 8th, 2022, where first reading was approved for each of the bylaws and the first public hearing was set for December 13th, 2022. On December 13th, 2022, after the initial presentations and discussions, the public hearing was temporarily adjourned to allow the applicant to work with administration on addressing the concerns raised during the public hearing. The proposal was updated to the satisfaction of administration on On May 9th, 2023, administration recommended to council to reconvene the public hearing, which was scheduled for June 13th. And I'm going to just have the clause that all of this is in 2023, so I can quit repeating that here. For the past month, notices of the public hearing were posted on the Town of Didsbury website, in the Alberta newspaper, and through the town's social media platforms. The responses received were included in the agenda package for council's consideration. So our order of business tonight is our Town of Didsbury administration will introduce and provide an overview of these proposed actions with regards to the development approval. The applicant will have an opportunity to speak and to the proposal and provide any additional information. Council will ask questions at that point if they have any. We'll have another overview of feedback. We will have the overview of feedback received by the town. And then we get to the gallery, anyone wishing to speak to the proposed actions. And we'll speak first in favor and then opposed. Go back to council, applicant, administration, and council again, and then we will close the hearing. So with that said, I believe Tracy's here, our Town of Didsbury planner, to introduce and provide an overview of the proposed actions with regards to this development proposal. So welcome, Tracy, and thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair, I'll just give you a brief overview of the proposal. So as we can see here on the map, it's located in the northern part of the Town of Didsbury, bordered on the north side by Mountain View County. It's adjacent to some existing development to the south, which consists of industrial and direct control districts, as well as to the west. And to the southeast is an area of developed residential parcels. Next slide, please. So as we can see here, the area structure plan is a combination of a few different uses. So we have an industrial proposal along the western side. In the middle of the ASP is the proposal for environmental reserve, and that is along the coulee bank, and that is also where a large stand of mature trees are. And then along the eastern side is a proposal for residential development, and then up in the northeast corner is some environmental and municipal reserve lands. Also, there's some municipal reserve lands that allows for the creation of a walking path network that connects the residential up into the industrial and allows the opportunity to connect with the existing walking path network that's in the Town of Didsbury to the south and a little bit to the east of this property. The MR dedication complies with the requirements of our 10% as outlined in our MDP. And since the first public hearing, we did receive a response from CP Rail, as this property is directly adjacent to CP Rail. And CP Rail has indicated that they do not oppose non-residential developments in proximity to their right-of-way. They provided that all proposed development should follow the 2013 proximity guidelines, and they have provided us a copy of that, and the copy will be provided to the applicant. Next slide, please. So this public hearing is also a consideration for a proposed amendment to our municipal development plan, and it is considering amending 3 of the maps within the municipal development plan, which would bring this proposal in compliance with those maps in our MDP. So as you can see on existing map A, it's showing this whole corridor as being for industrial development. So we're asking that we amend that, and it provides the opportunity for the residential development, which is part of this proposal on the eastern side. Next slide, please. So this is another map that is looking for an amendment, and as we can see, adding residential development along the eastern side so that the MDP proposed map, or MDP proposed future development allows for residential development within this property. Next slide, please. And once again, this is the 3rd map that we are looking to amend with this public hearing, and we're going to remove a portion of the industrial proposed future development within this quarter section and leave just the industrial along the western side of the quarter section, allowing for their proposal to be industrial development in this area. Adjacent landowners and referral agencies were circulated with the updated area structure plan, And they were also provided the notification of the public hearing that we are here today. And next slide, please. So this map just shows you roughly where we did receive adjacent landowner circulation responses from. Many of the landowners within the development to the north, called West Fork Estates, within Mountain View County, have a lot of concern with this proposal. I'll provide a very brief overview of their general theme of their concerns. As indicated, you have a copy of all the letters within your package, so you can see precisely what they have provided as their concerns. Firstly, they were disappointed that neighbors were not informed of the first public hearing on December 13th, 2022. They have large concerns with the very severe impact on wildlife, construction noise, and noise after build-out is complete, loss of enjoyment of the private country lifestyle that they've become accustomed to, traffic volume, area located for residential versus natural preserve. They're very concerned about the natural environment and the impact that future development would have on this natural environment. They are concerned with the style and density of development, perceived greed in squeezing so many lots into a small footprint, walking paths in their backyard, excessive tree removal between the adjacent landowners and the proposed development, the existing undeveloped residential industrial lot supply currently within the town, and they're concerned with the condition of Range Road 23rd Street or Range Road 20. So as I've indicated, that's a very brief overview. We acknowledge that these are all valid concerns, and they would like to see that noted in the public hearing so that council understands what they are looking at in relationship to what's going to happen next door. So essentially, just a brief response from our side. The first public hearing was advertised in the local paper as well as posted on the Town of Didsbury website. Adjacent landowners were circulated the ASP after the public hearing and have been also provided a separate notification confirming tonight's public hearing date. The proposed industrial development lots are contained within the land that is currently under cultivation. And as I noted earlier, that land is also adjacent to the railway. And as Canadian Pacific has indicated in their circulation response, they support non-residential development in that location. They do not support residential development in that close proximity to a railway. Central portion of the ASP is intended to be dedicated for environmental reserve. Any environmental reserve lands are to remain in a natural state and undisturbed. And that, as I've indicated, that covers where the large stand of trees are through the central portion of it, as well as surrounding the creek area up around Rosebud in the northeast corner. Regarding traffic volume, the industrial development has a connection south into town onto 19th Street, intended to be the main means of access into the industrial area. And the approach out onto 23rd Street or Range Road 20 is a secondary access point. And there is going to be a future connection for the residential development down through the south part of the corridor and onto 16th Street, thereby the connection being into the town and not out into the county. The walking paths are located adjacent to the residential lots and have connection to the industrial area and are not proposed to connect onto Mountain View County lands. It will be contained completely within the town of Didsbury. 23rd Street is an ongoing work in progress and is not intended to be a main point of access, as I've indicated, for the industrial development within this area structure plan. Next slide, please. So here are just a few quick site photos just to give you a bit of a bird's eye view of what's going on. So in this image, we're looking at that portion down in the southeast corner, which is intended to be the future connection to 16th Street, allowing for the traffic flow from the residential area south into the town of Didsbury. Next slide, please. So this is just looking back towards the town of Didsbury. That little blue square just showing approximately where a road would be built, which would further connect onto 16th Street. Next slide, please. So this is just image was taken up on top where the cultivated lands are, so looking kind of a bit south. And the area I have circled is that heavy stand of trees, and that is part of the area that is intended to be considered for environmental reserve dedication and remain in a natural state. Next slide, please. So here, just trying to give you another idea of how, the impact of development would be on the land. So basically, the grayed out area is approximately where the road would be built that would service this industrial area. And the right side of the photo is where any of the lots would be that would be developed. And then the yellow circle is showing that beside the road is where the environmental reserve dedication would be. Next slide, please. So I tried to, when we were out doing the site visit, tried to get a guesstimate of where approximately these connecting paths would be from the industrial down across the slope and down to the residential area. So this is approximately where one of them would be, and as you can see, the slope does get gradually less intense in this area and would not be a bit of a concern for the steepness of the slope area. Next slide, please. Once again, another open area. This is, like I said, just an approximation, but about where another path would be. So the trees are already removed in this area, so it would be a manner of putting in a pathway in this area down to the bottom and connecting with the residential path. Next slide, please. And just another area, once again, a clearing in those trees, and that's where another pathway would be. So in the initial review of the application, there was some concerns, firstly about the municipal reserve dedication. And as I've indicated, they have amended it, and it does include the minimum 10%, so that has been satisfied. The other thing that we were very concerned about with our first public hearing was the connection for the residential development in order to not mix residential and industrial traffic. And so the area structure plan area has been expanded. It includes a small lot on the south side, which allows for the future development of that road and provides that connection onto 16th Street going south. So there was questions about future industrial development and what may happen within that area. So there are policies within the area structure plan. Any future development of industrial lots within this area would need to comply with the policies in the area structure plan as well as the policies within the MDP. There are concerns about heavy industrial development and what that would look like in this area. And there is policies that indicate that should there be any heavy industrial development, there needs to be certain studies done to ensure and minimize the impact on adjacent lands. Going forward, if this area structure plan is approved and a developer wants to develop some lots, there would be another public process. They would need to rezone the lands to industrial to ensure that that can happen, and then followed by subdivision. So if industrial does get proposed, an application comes in, it will be circulated to the adjacent landowners, identifying what it is they're looking for, how they want to develop, and then there will be a public hearing process so that if there are concerns, we can work with those adjacent landowners and try and mitigate some of those concerns. There was also some discussion about whether we were proposing development within a floodway for the Rosebud. And within the area structure plan in section 3.2 topography explains that according to the provincial flood hazard identification program, a 1 in 100 year open water flood event would inundate to an elevation of 1,005.78 meters, and the valley floor is an average of 1,008. So what that indicates is it would be above any flood area, so risk to flood would be of a minimal nature in this area. We have worked with the adjacent landowner, I have corresponded with the adjacent landowners so that I could compile all their concerns and include them within tonight's presentation. We have a representative on behalf of the applicant here. They were also provided all those responses, and they provided us a response to those adjacent landowners, and that also is included in our package. I think that concludes my presentation. Should there be any questions, I'm available. And as I've indicated, we do have a representative here on behalf of our applicant if you have questions for them as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Tracy. We'll give the applicant an opportunity to speak right now. So, can you, Tracy, introduce the applicant?
Yes, I can.
Would you mind doing it?
is Mr. Bill Delaney with Associated Engineering, and he's available. He's here for questions. He feels that what he wanted to provide was contained within the letter, so he's available to answer questions if some should come up in relationship to the application.
Okay, thank you. So we'll take questions from council then to either Tracy or Mr. Delaney. If there's questions, Councillor Moore and then Councillor Windsor. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
I saw that. Be nice.
Thank you. I see on, I was interested in, I believe it's Mr. Delaney's letter, page 50. And he talked about the minimum 10%, and I know that that's a standard that municipalities can take. But on page 50, it says the report acknowledges that over 1/3, 34% of the gross plan area will be retained in a natural and semi-natural state, including the forested slopes and riparian areas adjacent to the Rosebud River, which is an effective means of minimizing the impacts on natural systems and maintaining wildlife corridors. That sounds, about 3.5 times the norm. I heard you mentioning minimum 10%. This sounds like it's 3.5 times what is expected. Can you tell us about that?
So in his letter, what he has done is group together the lands for environmental reserve as well as the lands for municipal reserve and included it all together in that percentage. That's my understanding of how he explained it. So a large portion of it would be environmental reserve left in a natural state. The municipal reserve lands, other than development of pathways, would also allow for the opportunity to leave some more natural vegetation in place. It just would be dependent on clearing to create the pathways. And they've also included an area in the northeast corner for a future playground, should that be the desire of the community at a future date.
Thanks for that. Councillor Windsor.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. Tracy, through the presentation, you talked about the flood hazard and talking about elevations, and that the average elevation in the valley is 1,008 meters, and the flood elevation is 1,005.78, 1,006. How many lots or what percentage of the residential development land is at the 1,006 or below that would be subject to flood?
I could defer that to Mr. Delaney. I'm not certain because I'm only looking at the maps that you've seen, so I haven't seen any maps that have contour lines in relationship to property lines, so we could ask Mr. Delaney if he has a bit of an idea. I can say, though, that in the future, should somebody come in for the residential development in that area, if it deemed to be some concern, there would need to be some studies done at that time to ensure that if need be, there would be some flood mitigation done as part of the development of any dwellings in that area, but I can defer your question for elevation to Mr. Delaney.
Do I just stand
Come on
up?
up. Yeah.
Good evening. When the designer of the subdivision worked through this process, they used a contour to define the area. The eastern boundary of the residential area lies at that boundary between the floodplain and the non-floodplain area.
Okay, Councillor Bowser has a question.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. Looking at this map, help me if I have this right. The gray area, which are would be industrial buildings, would that be considered a buffer, noise-wise, from the railway across the green space to the residential portion? Would that help as a buffer for noise? And of course, the green space as well would also do that.
It's difficult to say how much noise attenuation would happen with the development of the industrial lots. Obviously, some buildings may help, break up some of the noise, but it's difficult to say without knowing exactly what's going to be proposed on those lots, what sound attenuation may be there.
Okay, so the green space, how wide is that from the residential part to the industrial part? Is that like 100 yards or is it 50 feet to ballpark?
I could ask Mr. Delaney if he has, like I said, I don't have maps with specific dimensions. Do you have an idea?
I don't have that specific measurement, but it is the entire valley wall.
So it's considerable green space.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from council right now? Okay, I think Tracy, you haven't yet given us the overview. You did give us the overview feedback, so I'm just going by a script here. And
Yep.
Just kidding. That's okay, you got everything covered. I just wanted to, it is all covered, and Tracy did review that during your introduction, so thanks for that. So from the gallery now, again, I'm just going to call a short recess because I have a question for our CAO out there. No, at 6:26. Great, thank you for your patience, council.
Like it totally.
Sorry, Councilor Bassett. Take another minute for you. So we are back in order now, please, so I'll ask the gallery for silence. And with that, we're going to have anybody come first that's in favor to speak to the development.
Yeah, no.
Is there someone else? So if you're in favor, we'll ask in favor to come first to speak. And I don't see anybody standing up for that.
Madam Mayor, may I ask a question?
Actually, no, right now. You can certainly come and speak at the mic.
That's what I mean.
If we're going to be, because no one's coming up in favor, so opposed, we'll hear the opposed now. If anyone who wants to come up, please come up, state your name.
Thank you.
And
My name is Craig Penner. I'm a resident.
you can come, just sit and presenters.
Oh, that fellow. I don't have a major presentation, but before we really get rolling here, I just wanted to establish the existing treed boundary as it stands today. And I've seen a map.
Well, they actually were asking for the comments against the proposal. So-
My comments would be against the proposal.
And so, speaking to that, we'll hear that. And I don't think,
Well, my comment would be that
you can certainly ask, we're not after clarification on boundaries because our staff and applicant are part of that. The studies here on if council has questions about the boundaries, I guess you could ask those, but Mr. Penner, when that happens, when we have questions of you, but right now, we're speaking against the motion, the proposal.
I am.
In any way you want, but we won't have any clear definition of the boundaries unless it's relative to your opposition.
Well,
So let's put it
okay.
that way.
I think it's relevant because council isn't aware of the existing tree line, and this proposal decimates a big portion of those trees, and I just want to put it forth, a proper map showing what the existing tree line is. So I think that's relevant.
I guess Tracy, I need to ask if there's an error in our pictures or drawings or diagrams. That's, job has been done and researched and everything's presented here, so the facts are in front of us on paper.
That represents the plan. That doesn't represent the existing situation. So
But I,
we have to take the existing situation into
I'm
account.
not asking for clarification on our maps, I guess is the point. So you're saying something, you're in opposition to this because of your interpretation of the tree line, and that's a fair statement. But then I would ask our staff if the tree lines and the pictures and the drawings have all been researched thoroughly for this public hearing and for this area structure plan amendment and municipal development plan amendment. Tracy, is to your knowledge that everything is...
They are, and an area structure plan essentially is conceptual in nature. The lines get defined when somebody applies for redesignation followed by subdivision, and then we'll have a better idea with more detailed dimensions. I think maybe the thing that Mr. Penner's looking for is perhaps an overlay of the map with the aerial imagery underneath it, so he can see how the lines line up with what's on here now. And I think maybe that's what he's looking for, but we don't have that. But as I said, going forward, when we go to redesignation and subdivision, we'll have a better idea how those lines line up with where the coulee bank is, where the trees are, and that nature.
Within the ASP, there is a map showing the current forested area. And that's what I just wanted to demonstrate to council, what's involved in going from that picture to this picture. And without seeing that map, without seeing that view, you don't know how many trees are being removed.
Okay.
All I'm asking for is the map of the current tree line. And people can make an informed decision. Exactly. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
That's in our packages, so just...
So you can see the striped area, which represents the escarpment, as it's been called, remains. And that's because nobody can build on it because of the angle. But the other trees are going to be removed. That's a significant portion of trees that act as a buffer zone between our residences in West Fork and the development at Creekside.
So your opposition, explain your opposition relative to your statement then.
My opposition is that the destruction of those trees has a negative impact on both the residents of West Fork, on the environment, the flora, the fauna, all those things. You can see that's a significant portion of forest that's going to be destroyed. So that's my point.
Okay. Thanks for that. Does council have any questions? For the presenter?
No, I'm just clarifying. Can I point at it just to make sure I'm looking at the right piece?
I don't know, Eddie. Will you stand on that table?
Believe you me, that, I can't quite get to it. With that arrow in it, that piece right there.
The green area
All that green is gonna be removed. Okay.
destroyed.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak in opposition? Again, come up to the presenter's table and state your name.
My name is Martin Lebrecht. I'm a resident of West Fork as well. And further to what Craig has mentioned, and then pursuant to what Tracy talked about, we're concerned about migratory paths for wildlife. There is a large amount of wildlife in this area. We're talking anywhere between 15 and 150 deer migrating daily. This patch that Craig mentioned that's going to be destroyed is in effect the migratory path of all that wildlife from the west side, all the properties west of Didsbury, through this part and through our subdivision to the river. There is migration daily to the creek. So if you eliminate that and replace that with lots, where is the wildlife going to go? Which path is it going to take? I just want to bring that to your attention. I may have more to say later.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? This is the only opportunity for the gallery to speak, so if there's anything anybody needs to say, it would be now.
I'm Cheryl Penner from West Fork. The areas that are being preserved, that ridge is out of necessity. The floodplain is out of necessity. The rest is going to be destroyed. That whole area is called Aspen Parkland, and Aspen Parkland is identified by the Nature Conservancy of Canada as an ecoregion in crisis. Aspen Parkland has many at-risk species and is considered to be the most altered ecozone on the prairies, with only 21% of natural cover remaining. This massive development will destroy this ecosystem. In the report, it says in section 4.3, the proposed project activities have the potential to permanently remove quality habitat for several sensitive species. That alone should be a wake-up call. The report also says in the development principles to protect natural features and wildlife from unwanted development. That is not happening here. We are supposed to build residential communities smarter, better, and in harmony with the environment. Development in cohesion with the environment is a progressive way of doing things in the year 2023 and much more attractive to the general population. Economic development should only be considered in areas that are not in crisis. This development is massive and will be the total destruction, and the amount of wildlife in there is phenomenal. In those trees that are being destroyed, there are a pair of great horned owls that will not have their home there anymore, and many other birds that we've identified, and wildlife. And that's why I'm opposed to this development.
Thank you. Anyone else?
When Calgary flooded, did anybody notice this valley? And the other thing I'd like to ask is, has anybody walked that property? Because going up that hill is a lot steeper than you think. So I'll leave that to you. Because it was
What was your
pretty,
name?
pardon me?
What was your name?
Alan Simon.
Thank you, Al.
Yeah, my name is Brian McCarter. I'm a resident in West Fork Estates, and I won't just repeat what they've all said about the environmental damage, but the concern I have is the dangerous road access on Highway 23, which is at the top of a hill. So the people coming up the hill are not going to be able to see the traffic turning on to Range Road 20 or 23rd Street. And the increased road traffic on 23rd Street is going to make a very poor road even worse. So that's my concern.
Thank you for that. Is there anyone else? Okay, we are just speaking about this public hearing and...
Don't worry, yes.
Okay.
My name is Deb Pelche. Thank you for your time this evening. I live about a block and a half off of the main drag access on 16th Avenue, and I have very much concern about adding more traffic and density to what we would now know as the Tim Hortons Road. So, I sit probably 15 to 20 minutes some days just trying to back out of my driveway with everybody getting their coffee. I can't imagine 500 more cars on that equation with the pothole issues you have now. So my concern is the density that you're creating. I don't understand where all these people coming from, where the demand for this housing is, but if in actuality this is developed, I don't know how that corridor would sustain the traffic without potential risk and more accidents than we're seeing already now. That's my concerns.
Thank you for that. Anyone else? Last call, or last word?
I don't know if we're there yet. My name is Martin Lebrecq. I talked earlier, but I was in support of Craig's point, just to clarify a few things. I do have a question about the wisdom of developing this particular quarter, rezoning it from industrial to residential, wherein the town has 3 full quarters south that was annexed recently. That's flat land, cleared, used to be farmed, ready for development, up higher so that you don't have to have a lift station for your sewer, plus power backup associated. And then also in accordance with your municipal development plan, which calls for the south part of Didsbury to be residential and the north part of Didsbury to be developed as industrial. Now, for some reason, this has all been scrambled around, and now you're modifying your MDP, which was adopted for a reason, in order to have this residential development, high density, in a coulee, by a creek, with a lot of environmental concerns about wildlife and about riparian zone. I mean, we have this Rosebud Creek. It's not just a piece that you can bulldoze and pave over. This is an important part of the environment that we have in that coulee, which all of the town knows, because we have these beautiful walking paths along the Rosebud Creek that are well used every day. So this is a jewel that you have in this valley. And I'm not saying it shouldn't be developed. I understand the need of Didsbury to have industrial development in order to expand the tax base and be more sustainable going forward. I'm all for that. Even though industrial development will be in my backyard and noisy, but I'm willing to live with that. It's okay. It's part of progress, and I'm not against progress. But developing a Calgary-style density in a residential portion down in the coulee that's beautiful by all accounts, I don't understand the wisdom of that. If you're going to develop that, think about it. Do it in accordance with what's existing. We have a jewel there. It's beautiful. Make it flourish. Capitalize on it. This could be a development, if done properly, that would draw people out of the city to inhabit our community. We seem to have this misguided direction to maximize and go as fast as we can forward in a direction that nobody's entirely clear on. We're talking about an ASP. None of the lots have been manifested interest in by anybody yet. We're going to try to cram down the buyer's throat a development that's not in accordance with the existing environment, and that will be in a density that's not compatible with our community, our country lifestyle. I understand that the entire proportion of municipal reserve and environmental reserve is adequate. It's at 34%. It looks good on paper, but go out there. I mean, you have this 20% that's in a ridge that can't be developed. And then we have some riparian zone that we can't build on because we need to preserve that river. In the middle, those lots are very tight. There's no breathing space. People will move in there, will get out of their car, look around, house, neighbor, cars, pavement. There's nothing that says that you live in a country when you get out of your car to go into your house. Why is that? Why do we turn a beautiful creekside area into a high-density and industrial-type development for residences? I don't understand that. If you want to do that, why don't you do it on the plains south of town, where the land is flat, there's no landscape, there's nothing to catch your eye. If you want to stack houses so close together, do it there.
Here's the rock, say, Michael, come on. We appreciate your comments, but repetitiveness is for emphasis, and your comments are taken and heard by everyone. So your arguments have, your statements are repeating themselves now, so that's something that we...
Can anybody answer to that?
So,
Can anybody answer to that?
Everybody got your comments and talked about the South and about the view and the riparian. And so unless you have something else to add that's different?
Well, I would have to say that traffic is a huge issue as well. The access road you have coming off of 23rd Street, the angle of it, I don't know if anybody looked at it, but it's going to make it very difficult for traffic to go up that hill in the winter. It is steep. We're going down 12 meters in about 60 feet.
And the traffic has been addressed, or the access and egress, so again, I'll give you one more chance if there's something new you'd like to add.
Are you really looking for comments, or, okay.
Well, no, if you have something new, absolutely. Yes.
I will stop now, I guess.
Thank you for all your comments. Okay, so I think that was the last. Shut the mic off. So does council have any questions of anyone that just spoke? Okay, so Tracy, I'm going to go back to you, and Mr. Delaney as well. I think you said you captured, everything's captured in his response in his letter. And I'll let you add any additional comments or anything. And people would like to say something? You don't have to in the script, though, so that should have.
Yeah, I'll just, on behalf of administration, before Tracy does her wrap up, just add a quick clarification, just to help with some misunderstanding. This is the town initiative. The town isn't doing this, isn't selecting this to go and develop. This is an applicant who's come forward with land that they own, proposing to development and asking the town for consideration of that. We don't control what private owners do with their land and where they choose to develop and where they don't choose. We don't control any of that. Our role is to consider proposals that come from people that own the land, and that's what's being done tonight. So just to clarify that, this isn't a town push initiative.
Thanks for that.
What he said, as well as in consideration and looking at this, we are looking at adjacent development. So there is development in the industrial nature and direct controlled nature to the west and to the south. There is also some higher density residential development in Valarosa to the southeast. So we are looking at, when it's reviewed, looking at what is going on in and around the area. And in regards to traffic, there was a traffic impact analysis that was conducted by a traffic engineer who would have looked at traffic flow, would have looked at the roads and approaches and things like that. So that was part of the initial application and has been reviewed. And yeah, that's all I was going to add.
Thank you. Again, any other questions from council? So this, so everybody understands, this is the public hearing, and council deals with the bylaw motions in our agenda on item. I gotta find the agenda. Yeah, on item 7.1, we make the motions for the bylaw amendments. So right now, at this point, unless council, are there any last questions from council and comments? Then I will close the public hearing. And we will, Luann's caught that, and we'll reconvene our regular council meeting. So we have item 6.1. Item 6.1 is our council reports. And I guess we'll just let everybody go in the gallery for.
Okay, we're leaving.
Okay, we have council reports. And I know Councillor Williams doesn't have one. Welcome back. Oh, do you? Oh, well then, we're just kidding, you can't start. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm still getting used to this. Thank you. I had a Didsbury Museum meeting on June 8th. We decided to go to change our meeting schedule to second Thursday of each month, starting at 7. So at that meeting, we discussed parade ideas and what they would like to see for the parade and what type of float. They finished second last year in voting, and they're gunning for #1 place. Also, we discussed Canada Day and what type of activities will be happening at the museum. They're going to be serving ice cream from 1 to 4 at that day, so stop by. Then also on June 12th, I had a Didsbury Economic Development Committee meeting. That meeting, we heard the chamber report about the Air Tour event that happened on June 3rd. They were expecting 120 people to show up. They had over 700. And I heard that the town got a lot of kudos for being available there. They had a booth, and we're one of the only towns that have a booth available.
You still from my report?
If you have more to that, then I'll. Also, then we'll have a Economic Development Network meeting on June 28th, 6 to 8 at the Caddy Shack at the golf course. And then also the trade show. Thank you, Councilor Windsor. The trade show is back, and the museum is partnering up with a committee, with a group of volunteers from the town to bring the annual trade show back in April. And that will be taking place on April 13th and 14th at the Didsbury Memorial Complex. So keep your eyes peeled for more information about that, but that would be a great thing to have back in the community. So I have to report.
I missed what's the networking event?
Pull that. That's a network event that will be held at the Caddy Shack at the golf course. So we're having.
Who's doing
that? The Economic Development Committee. Yep. Tickets are $20, and they'll be available shortly on Eventbrite.
All right. Do you have a report?
Yes, I actually have no report. That was pretty quiet for me. I attended 2 meetings, PEC and PGC. I think I got those out right. So the chairperson would talk about those. I have to apologize. I don't know who my alternate on the library board is. We don't have one. Okay. So I will redact that statement.
Councillor Bassard.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I guess the first thing was, I attended FCSS mature person dance at the complex. And that went over very well. Ryan is doing such a good job with FCSS. And then, of course, Mayor Rhonda and myself attended, not to steal her thunder, we attended a meeting today, the Alberta municipalities. And the interesting thing that came out of that was the mayor of the now joined towns of Turner Valley and Black Diamond mentioned to me that they are modeling our financial process because it works and it's solid. So kudos to administration and particularly Mrs. Riley. And I was really surprised at that they're taking our model, which obviously you just couldn't say enough about it. It works very well for them. So that was my takeaway from that meeting primarily. So that's my brief report, Mayor Hunter, on our trip today.
Yeah, you're not stealing my thunder, you were there, so you can certainly speak to it. He wasn't there at the thing you just talked about. Okay, Councillor Windsor.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. A report on RDR Bug, where we have decided to restructure our meeting format. And so the executive meetings were prior to the general meetings, which caused a lot of repetition. So the new structure is going to be that the executive meeting will be setting the agenda a week ahead of the regular meeting, so that will minimize travel as well as the time spent on the executive committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Moore?
On May 26th, I had the Strategic Planning Committee meeting, and we looked at the composting options and green bins and things like that. There's still more work to be done, so that will be coming back to us. And June 1st, you know what? That was professional development. Professional Performance Evaluation Committee, not SPC, sorry. And May 26th, of course, I had the SPC meeting, which we'll have more on that, on reserve policy development. And the Mountain View Seniors Housing key messages just came, so they will be in our next meeting, right after this one. That's it.
Thanks for that. Seems like forever since our last meeting. Like, I've been to Toronto and back.
Me to Winnipeg.
You Winnipeg and back. Yeah, but I did, No, I did when I was in Toronto, but I was at the Federation of Canadian Municipalities convention, and I will have a report on that. I apologize it's late. It was a great event, as always. And lots of opportunity to learn and listen and meet a whole bunch of elected officials from across Canada. And I was at the senior showcase on June 5th. It was a great start to a showcase for seniors, and they had I think they had 13 tables or 14. Seniors lunch on the 7th, because it was Seniors Week last week, of course, and a salute to our seniors. So it was my privilege to be able to thank our seniors for all they do and being the builders that they are. And I was at Diamond Valley today at the summer caucus for elected officials, and they're having 5 of those, so that's just one that we were at. And I'll do a report on that as well. Went through, I'm really privileged this Saturday to be the reviewing officer for the annual ceremonial review of our cadets. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm very nervous to be doing that. And of course, graduation is coming up and our banners look fantastic, of course. And I'll certainly be there. We have council extending good wishes to our grads. And their cap and gown is also on the Friday night. But there's one other thing I want to remind everybody of. The high school concert's tomorrow night, the West End concert is Thursday night.
The jazz concert is tonight.
And the jazz concert is tonight. I'll be going to the Cape AGM too on Thursday morning. So June has been busy. And I'm hoping I'm not missing it. There's something that I'm thinking, but that's my report for now, and I will get written reports in on the events I went to, as I mentioned. So unless there's any questions from anyone, I'll have a motion to accept council reports as presented. Go ahead.
I move that council accept the council reports as information.
All right. I want to remind everybody about the grad parade too on the 24th. That's at 3 o'clock. So, yes, but I forgot that part, so. I just did. I'll call the vote, all in favor. That's carried. We have the CO report for June 13th. Nothing? Any comments or questions on the CO report? Councillor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I wonder if we could get an update on where we are with the library.
Ethan, can someone update, or would you like to bring that back? Like on the existing library, not the grant application, that's that right?
Absolutely, yes, yeah.
On the construction.
The incident and where we are with recovery of that.
Oh, yeah, that's probably something, there's legal implications to that. And so I think what I'd recommend is probably bring some information back and we bring that into closed.
Okay. You want a motion for that?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other comments on the CO report? Call the vote. I need a motion to accept this information. Now we'll have a motion from Councilor Windsor. Councilor Moore?
Yes, I'll move that the CAO report be accepted as information.
All right, I'll call the vote. All in favor? It's carried. And Councilor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'll move that council direct administration to bring a report to council regarding the library restoration.
And I just, sorry, and if I could, Mayor, I've been advised that you can update tonight, and maybe if we just defer that to the closed portion.
Okay.
Just because we've received legal advice and we probably should discuss that.
But
So
it's
maybe
not on
just,
our-
maybe to add an item.
Well, I think we can add to the closed.
Okay.
Can we, like it's already on our agenda what we're discussing, so we can wait.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay? So that motion to bring back to the next meeting? Well, just back to the next meeting, so however it has to be. Ethan, is that fair?
Sure.
Okay. Did you have that there, Luann, in the motion?
Moved by Councillor Windsor to have administration bring a report to council regarding the library restoration.
All right, I'll call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. So now we have bylaws and policies. Item 7.1, the Creekside Area Structure Plan and Municipal Development Plan. And I'm just going to catch up in my notes here. And I don't believe, Ethan, there's nothing to add. We can have a motion for second reading. And then discussion, Deputy Mayor?
I move the council grant second reading to bylaw 2022-15 Creekside Area Structure Plan. Do you want me to continue with the full?
No, just the first, or the second reading is what we're at. Are there any discussion or comments? Becky wants to say something.
I'm just wondering, in the process, we might have to pass first reading at the amended ASP?
First reading was passed.
Okay, that was done.
Yeah.
In November.
Right, but there has been changes to the ASP. But that's all.
The document they're voting on tonight has the amended ASP.
Yeah, we got legal advice on that.
Okay.
And, yeah, we're good.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you for that. You have a special place, a special chair there that you can speak to this stuff. We appreciate that. Thank you, Becky.
Yeah.
But, sorry, but on that note, the motion for second reading should be as amended, because the bylaw, or
As
bylaw
amended.
as presented is an amended version of what did pass.
Okay, we can do that as amended. Okay. Any other discussion or comments? Call the vote. All in favor on second reading? That's carried. Deputy Mayor?
And the council grant third and final reading to bylaw 2022-15 Creekside Area Structure Plan.
Any final comments, questions? Call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. All right, we have we have business, item 8. Yeah, we do have 7.1.2. Thank you. I already counted them as 2 because Councillor Engel made 2 motions. Okay, we have item 7.1.2. And I have too many pictures in front of me. Just take a pause. I know, but yeah, there it is. There are a lot of pages. Bylaw 2022-16, amending MDP bylaw 2012-09. Second and third reading. Councilor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'll move the council grant second reading to bylaw 2022-16, amending municipal development plan bylaw 2012-09.
Okay, any comments? I'll call the vote. All in favor? That's carried.
And Mayor Hunter, I'll move that council grant third and final reading to bylaw 2022-16, amending municipal development plan bylaw 2012-09.
Final call. Call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. Now we have item 8.1. The Rosebud Valley. Thank you, Mr. Delaney, for being here. Rosebud Valley Campground Winter Camping Report. So, if there's anything to add to this, administration, or is all the information in front of us that we've already read? Jack? Okay. We'll make the motion and then have discussion. Councilor Moore wants to make that.
I move that council approve winter camping at the Rosebud Valley Campground on an ongoing basis, and that administration implement the improvements to address the items raised in the report.
Questions or comments? Councilor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. It seems to me by some of the information that's provided here that I just want clarification, I guess. Is electricity and water metered going to the campground?
Through the chair, yeah, so it's metered. There's 1 meter in the building that covers the entire campground for both water and for electricity, and gas as well. So the sites themselves are not metered, but the campground is metered.
Thank you.
you call it? I have, well, I have a real concern about snow removal in a campground in the winter, when all of our residents don't even get snow removal in the winter, the taxpayers of our community. So I would not expect that be prioritized if our residents aren't prioritized for snow removal. I think that's a real concern for me, personally, because of that reason. We get a lot of comments about snow removal, and if we send our snow removal equipment down there when some of our residents aren't getting that service, how does administration answer to that?
I think there's an option for if a fee increase were to be applied for the sites, that there could potentially be a contracted service rather than it be the town crews having to do it, that those extra monies that could be collected per site would help to cover a contract for snow removal when it was required.
And this wouldn't be a prioritization of it, but it would just be an added help, again, within our capacity, but it wouldn't necessarily put it at the top. It wouldn't put it at the top of the list.
Yeah, I like that contract idea. I'm really supporting our snow removal schedule for our residents, but go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
So yeah, I think that I agree with the winter camping at the campground, absolutely. It looks like it came out on the plus side of money, so that was good. However, I do agree with Mayor Hunter on the snow clearing, and not that the campground shouldn't be done, but if it's contracted, it shouldn't just cover part of it. It should cover, like if they want to hire snow clearing, and then the people in there should cover that cost, not just part of it. Because you're right, there's areas in town that we just can't get to when there's a large volume of snow, and adding another amenity to that isn't fair to the residents. So I would like to see the winter camping, but I think the snow has to be addressed.
And maybe we'll take that out of the conditions tonight and have that researched perhaps for cost, and like I would ask council that we would get that researched, how that would look, the snow removal part of it with a contract approach. And at this point tonight, and I believe me, through Nicole, I'm sure I speak on behalf of council, to thank our very wonderful campsite attendants and what a wonderful job they do. And I know one's here, so I can't, but they do a wonderful job. They really do. And
let's get Phil a shovel.
And the campground has been a big success since we implemented our contract attendance. That's not even the right word. I'm sure you have a better name for yourselves. What do you?
Hosts.
Hosts, yes, campground hosts. That's a good word. So I would like council to consider that we just take that out of the conditions for tonight and have that looked at, how that would look if council agrees to that, if you would agree to that amendment, Councilor Moore.
Yes.
Thank you. Ethan, and then Ethan. And then, sorry, Councilor Windsor after.
Yeah, and would that include the fee? Like, would we take back and look at the fee again? Or we're going to implement a new fee, is my question tonight.
Ethan, or?
Well, that's why I recommend, I don't think, because all this is saying is just to direct that we basically look at how we address the concerns raised in the report. So a lot of this will be coming back anyways with an updated fees bylaw and things like that. And snow clearing will be included in that fees bylaw as we look at. So this will all be addressed in.
We're just accepting this report as information.
Yeah, it's basically to give us the green light to go ahead and start working on ways to address the concerns raised. So, which will then be forthcoming.
Did you want Nicole to speak that too? She had her hand up, but maybe you've answered out everything.
Is that?
Okay. And Councillor Windsor has a comment?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I really appreciate the report. I mean, I think I asked for it, so I really appreciate having the report. The question is, it looks like in the winter camping that we had a profit of $9,000, and yet for the summer, we have a loss of $20,000. So how can we possibly have a loss of $20,000 with the same fee charged for the summer, and yet for the winter, we have a $9,000 profit? It doesn't compute.
Can you answer that? Is there any thoughts on that?
Sure. So when I put the winter camping report together, I was trying to identify the costs that were specific to us offering that service that we normally don't. And because the contract for the caretakers or for the hosts had already been budgeted for, it wasn't inclusive in this. And so the costs for the contract for the hosts and for like repairs and maintenance, for beautification, which are larger budget items, are kind of, I think, what is reflective of that difference between the revenues and the expenses that you're talking about.
So then, for comparative purposes, Mayor Hunter, if I may, for comparative purposes, where would we end up in this for the winter camping as compared to the same inclusions in the summer camping? Would it be?
You'd be asking for a hypothetical
Yeah.
answer, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think anybody could answer that.
Okay.
Like that, 'cause it's not a real situation, but
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, but it's not comparable, and that's.
Well, I think there's a lot of things that aren't comparable, one of them being downsized, only 8 units in there too, and the downsize of contract costs, perhaps, and I can't answer everything, but what I'd like to see this motion though, and you're looking at me puzzled, is there something that you'd like to finish with?
No, it's not comparable, and so to say that we had a $9,000 profit on the winter camping isn't comparable to what we had for a summer situation. They don't jive, they don't.
Okay.
And so I'm puzzled, I don't understand what the actual net was of the winter camping. I mean, obviously, the indications are that 9,000 isn't an accurate number. That's what I'm hearing.
Ethan?
Just to clarify, so basically, we didn't include the full camping costs in the calculation because there's camping costs that are, all we looked at is what additional costs would be if we weren't running winter camping. But the costs that we would already be having throughout the year, no matter what, that's not part of it because those were sunk costs already. And so what we looked at is by adding it, what was added to it in costs and what was added to it in revenues, and calculated that. But the other costs that were just sunk costs already for operating and running a campground, those aren't included in that. So it's hard to compare winter season from summer season. Like if you were only running a winter season, then you'd have all those camping costs as well. But that's why you can't compare it. It's because to run a campground has all these costs that are already going to be there, whether you hold winter camping or not. But this was just simply a glimpse at to add that added thing onto a cost we're already spent. So it's basically making our costs more efficient throughout the year.
Okay. So the way the motion's worded though, it says that administration implement improvements to address the items raised. So should it be, like, if we're talking about contracted snow removal, that should be captured somewhere in here, because the improvements you're suggesting are, if you're going to implement them, that means we just including contracted snow removal at campers' costs, something like that.
Well, implement is meaning everything. So one of the things we're bringing back is the fees, because the campground fees is one of the things identified that needs to be addressed. So implementing is simply working on a new bylaw to bring back new fees. So, but you can give whatever wording you want, but it's just not so black and white literal as that.
Well, we all know that motions can be literal and are meant to be. So I think if Councillor Moore would just amend that.
I would like to revise my motion.
Okay.
First of all, I move that council approve winter camping at the Rosebud Valley Campground on an ongoing basis. I don't think there's any argument about that. And that administration address items raised in the report and bring them back to council.
Thank you. I like that. Appreciate that.
I did it without my mic, and I think everybody heard.
Yeah, exactly. So are there any other comments? And again, before we close this, I do extend our gratitude to our campsite hosts for just excellent work down there, and what a fun place you've made it, and what a well-presented campground you've made it, and welcoming. You know, I could go on, but I won't, because we have a motion here, and I'm going. Did you capture all that, Luana?
Yes.
Yes.
Moved by Councillor Moore to approve winter camping at the Rosebud Valley Campground on an ongoing basis, and that administration address the items raised in the report and bring them back to council.
Okay, we'll call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. 8.2, Summer Sunday Fun Day proposal. Councillor Williams.
Try to say this 10 times fast. I move that council accept the Summer Sunday Fun Day event for August 2023 be approved as presented. Should we have the date in there? So I move that council approve the Summer Sunday Fun Day event for August 13th, 2023 be approved as presented.
All right, comments or questions? Councillor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. What happens if we don't approve it? It's already been advertised in the community program guide, so I mean, it's happening regardless. So what happens if we don't approve it?
I guess we'll find out after the vote, won't we?
We'll update our information.
Exactly. I think it sounds like a Sunday fun day. And I am going to call the vote. All in favor? That's carried.
Few guys.
Okay, we have the Bethany Care Society project. Thank you, administration, for your work on this. Deputy Mayor?
I move the council approve a donation of $8,000 to the Bethany Care Foundation for the Pathway and Gazebo project located at Bethany Didsbury to be funded from the in lieu of municipal reserve fund, and that the availability of these funds be conditional upon measures being taken to ensure the land remain public or available to the public going forward when the project is completed.
Thank you for that. Any questions? Call the vote. All in favor? It's carried. That's good news. We have item 8.4, the East Reservoir. Another site option and some research that has been done. Anyone would like to make the motion, or Councillor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'll move the council approve the southwest parking lot of the memorial complex for the future site of the East Reservoir.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Councillor Baswick.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. Through the chair to Mr. Craig. At one point we talked about a reservoir being behind the town office, and now we've gone to this. In your opinion, which is the easiest and least costly for connectivity to connect to what we need that reservoir for? Would this location be better, or this one just proposed now?
Do you want to answer that, Craig?
Oh, no.
Why, sure. You might be able to answer it.
I got the nod, it's okay. Through the chair, thank you for the question. So from a connectivity perspective, what we gain in one place, we lose in another. But overall, to look at sort of the two sites that we've discussed so far, so the playground and the reservoir site, to connect the reservoir site from the Memorial Complex, we'd have to come down 16th Street, so it's quite a long run to come back down to the southern part. But no matter where, sort of north-south on the east side of the tracks we stay, the pipe has to go north and south. So as long as we're on that alignment, we're kind of in the same ballpark. Where the Memorial Complex site benefits from is predominantly not having to go through an existing residential subdivision that's already established. So we'd have to remove and replace a lot of infrastructure in order to get out to 16th Street, whereas Memorial Complex site, we'd be on 16th Street at 22nd Avenue already to come down. And it's always been planned to go down 16th Street with the main distribution pipe to connect the east side to the west side, and then make sure that the east side has the fire flows down in the far east, southern east portion that we're aiming for to fix with this reservoir. So it's marginally less at the Memorial Complex site, if that. A lot of background there.
Didn't quite understand all that, but thank you very much.
I take that as a failure. I'm sorry.
Other questions, Councillor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor. Were there other areas, I'm wondering if there were other areas of the Memorial Complex proper that were explored in addition to the parking lot?
Thank you for the question. And through the chair, yeah, we sort of looked at the whole site, to be honest, just to sort of see if there was some place that was a good fit. And you can take recreational facilities and put them on top of a reservoir, and that's a suitable thing to do with buried reservoirs. The clunky part with the way our project sort of will be staged from both growth perspectives, so fiscally responsibly, we have to do it in two stages. So we'll build one reservoir, and for us to put facilities on top of it, they'd be at risk when we go to develop the second reservoir. So we'd either have to undo a basketball court or a pickleball court, and they're expensive facilities to build, and we wouldn't want to build them twice. So we kind of looked at the site as yeah, we could, but with the parking lot being open and available, and parking lots also being available to be used on top of a reservoir, it sort of seemed to be the ideal fit, to be honest.
Thanks for all those answers, Craig.
Welcome.
Are we that close to actually pursuing a reservoir? So, we have a motion to approve the southwest parking lot of the Memorial Complex for the future site of the East Reservoir. I'm going to call the vote. All in favor? That's carried.
And Mayor Hunter, I'll move to approve proceeding with the preliminary engineering design for Phase 1 with revised construction cost estimates for Phase 1 and 2 to be brought back to Council when available for further consideration.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Well, thanks again for all your work on that, Craig. And it looks like we have I'll call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. So now you have something to do. I meant to clarify just one thing on this item. I'm sorry, because it was talked about public consultation. I want to say this publicly, but the public consultation really was about behind the town office where it affects the residences. So I'm confident that if there are any objections to that area, we'll certainly listen to them, but I don't think we'll be doing any big public consultation on a parking lot for a water reservoir, just because I knew we were just doing it residential. For clarity. All right, we have item 8.5, mill and overlay project. Oh, Councillor Muller.
I move that administration proceed with an enhanced scope of work in accordance with the approved budget.
Any comments or questions? You don't have to, but go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. The motion doesn't pinpoint what we're talking about here, and I think that we need to be a little more literal with the motion. The mill and overlay enhanced work maybe should be included in the motion somehow.
If you read it afterwards, you wouldn't even know.
No, I agree, it would be pretty vague in there.
Okay, I will add work on the mill and overlay 20th Street to 20th Avenue. No, 20th Street, 20th Avenue to approximately 17th Avenue, right after work.
Is that satisfactory, Ethan, or capturing, I mean, we want to capture them all over those streets?
Sure.
Thank you for that, Councilor Moore, then.
I guess the only thing is you just, basically what we're asking is to allow us to do as much as we can within the budget there, and you just don't want to handcuff us if we have even a little more, and we can do a little more and extend, and that's why we were keeping it. Yeah, I was
Just say the mill and overlay.
that the mill and overlay project be enhanced in accordance with the budget. Basically, that we can get as much as we can out of that budget.
Yeah,
No streets, just mill and overlay.
okay.
Okay.
Can you read that back?
To approve administration to proceed with, and it's going back to the original.
Enhanced scope of work.
Enhanced for the mill and overlay in accordance with the approved budget.
Yes. Thank you. I'll call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, we have item 8.6, cul-de-sac speed limit. Councillor Baswick?
With different wording, I would recommend we prefer the reduction of speed limits in the town of Didsbury to the Performance Evaluation Committee and bring back a recommendation to council rather than just cul-de-sacs, if that's acceptable.
Any comments? I know, I will only support cul-de-sacs for now. I think, again, that's a big undertaking, and the cul-de-sac issue is here in front of us with the letter, and we really just have to answer this issue. So, Councilor Moore, then Deputy Mayor, then
Although I'm not averse to setting speed limits to the Performance Evaluation Committee, I also think that Silverstone Place is unique in the cul-de-sacs in town. In the one that I used to live in, there was only 2 houses in the back of the cul-de-sac. So speed wasn't an issue, although certainly people drive in and you wish they'd maybe go a little slower. But in the site, I find down in Silverstone Place, you just can't see as you go into there. And that has been a concern that Mel Crothers had brought up before too, is that it seems that sight lines and it's maybe a little longer than some of the others. It is unique, and I certainly would want to address their issue. So I'm not averse to looking at everything, but I do think Silverstone Place is a particularly dangerous one.
are we talking about the same place?
I don't know.
Like, you're talking about Bella Rosa? Or are you talking about across from my house? That's where this
That's
is.
Silverstone Place? Sorry. I am not familiar with all this.
Okay, so that's okay, but maybe there's another cul-de-sac. I'm gonna go ahead, Deputy Mayor, and then Councillor.
So I agree with Councillor Baswick about looking at all the speed limits. One of the concerns I have is we have speed limits posted at 30 kilometers an hour in playground zones, and I continually witness people going through those reduced areas in sometimes speeds in excess of, I would estimate 60 kilometers an hour. And I don't know if we have a speed limit problem or an enforcement problem, but I don't think that if we start taking certain sections of the town and saying you can go 50 here and 40 here and 30 here and 42 there, I think it has to be blanketed, and that's the speed you go, and if you're going over it, you get a ticket. So I would look at reducing the speed. I don't think it's that big of an undertaking. It's really just a decision, do we want to slow the people down or not? But it should go to PEC.
Councillor Williams?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not against your motion. I think there should be two separate motions here, one for the cul-de-sacs and then one for the rest of the town.
Councillor Windsor had a comment first and then...
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I went and looked at Silkstone just to have a look and see what we were dealing with there. And it's a block long and there's a 90-degree corner in it. And for people to be speeding on there, whether it's 20, whether it's 5 kilometers, whether it's 50 kilometers, if they're speeding, they're speeding. And the problem isn't a matter of the people that are, I mean, it is people going fast, but we don't have any enforcement. I mean, I don't care if you make it 5 kilometers, if they're not going to enforce it, it doesn't mean anything. And so I don't think that it should be a special thing, but that's just me.
Councillor Baldry?
Well, I'm just wondering, it's almost laughable. I've never been able to go 40, 50 clicks in a cul-de-sac. I mean, anybody I know can. How can you? It's a short circle. I mean, it's bizarre for somebody to say that. Yeah, so that's why I'm saying that if we're going to do it in the town, not just. I agree with my colleague that going 40, 50, that just sets up a speed trap like they do in Calgary. You come down the hill 70, all of a sudden it's 60, and there's a motorcycle sitting there and you're tagged. I don't want to see that happen. I agree with Mr. Windsor that we need more, what's the word? Enforcement. That's the key to everything, I think, really. Anyway, that's it.
Okay. So the reason this was brought was because we had a group of residents who were concerned, and when they brought it to the attention about cul-de-sacs, everybody agrees that no one speeds and like goes 50, and it shouldn't be 50 in a cul-de-sac. So that's an easy one to address and look into. We have dealt with the 40-kilometer speed limit in the past, and council didn't pursue it. And we actually had some information brought back, so I guess I'd like to look at when that was brought back, and the information that was brought back because it wasn't endorsed or approved in a motion or in a directive. Council, again, I agree with Councillor Williams to separate them out because I can certainly support cul-de-sac, and I know we've researched 40 kilometers before, so council's never talked about concerns about that, and I've never heard concerns from our citizens about 50 or 40, or I've heard concerns about this cul-de-sac, and it makes sense that you don't have a 50 kilometer an hour speed limit in a cul-de-sac, so that's why we brought it here, because it's an easy research and bring back information on it, and it addresses concerns of a group of residents that took the time to write a letter and ask us to address it. So, go ahead.
Councillor Basil, would you accept a amendment where it be two separate motions?
Sure, I just like to get on with it. Thank you.
Yes, we'll have the original motion then. Do you want to read that? If you'll accept that amendment.
The motion Council Bassett made was to refer the reduction of speed limits in
No.
the town of Didsbury.
No, I wanted Councillor Baswick to read the one that's up there, and then we'll have to make a new one if council.
So which one do you want me to read?
The one that's in the one that addresses the cul-de-sacs. That's part of our agenda.
All right.
Yeah.
I recommend to refer the reduction of speed limits in the cul-de-sac in the town of Didsbury to the Performance Evaluation Committee and bring back a recommendation to council.
Okay, any other comments? Call the vote, all in favor? That's carried, opposed? That's carried.
Second one?
Sure.
Okay. I recommend the reduction, or suggest the reduction of speed limits in the town of Didsbury. Recommend, let me start over. Refer the reduction of speed limits in the town of Didsbury to the Performance Evaluation Committee and bring back a recommendation to council.
Any comments or questions? I apologize, Councillor Basil, but I can't support that because I've already dealt with it and my mind hasn't changed. So that's why I won't vote for it. I just want to, with all due respect. So I am going to call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? So that's carried.
You know, I'm just getting my hair back after running back. Real slow.
Councillor Baswick. I'm very respectful with the town car when I have it.
Yes, you are.
Thank you.
New tires are money.
Item 8.7, the reserve policy development. And I believe the SPC dealt with that, so who was speaking to that? Was he at the meeting?
I was at the meeting, but I'm going to refer it to Council Moore to speak, the Vice Chair.
Oh,
I didn't make the motion. Okay. So I'll make the motion. I move that administration update policy FIN 007 reserves, including incorporating the strategic initiatives and contingency reserves funding principles as presented, and to refer it to the strategic planning committee for consideration. And further to that, because we are working on asset management plans, the integration of the asset management plan structure within the policy and to the best practices that were brought forward. And administration also has said that they have some ideas to improve the policy. So we are looking forward to having policy development brought back to the committee by administration for us to review further and then bring back to council.
Comments or questions? Councillor Windsor?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I'm wondering why this is going to the Strategic Planning Committee. It's a policy. And the Policy and Governance Committee deals with policies. I don't understand why it's going to the Strategic Planning Committee.
I can explain that because the nature of it is funding. If you're coming up with a funding proposal, it's not policy in nature. The policy committee deals with structuring a policy, but this is providing principles that are funding and budget related principles. If after that is brought back a recommendation, if it needs some help with the structuring of the clauses and the framework of the policy, then the committee can help with that. But this initial thing really is more appropriately coming from the SPC.
Okay, any other questions? I brought this up last year, and I know that unrestricted surplus continues to be a big question in my mind, why we can't have a policy and a number that we should have as an unrestricted surplus. And I don't think it is fairly blanketed in the reserve policy, or the, I'm looking here. The information required to be incorporated into the town's reserve policy. So I guess I think we really all need to understand that unrestricted surplus. And I don't know that everybody here does, because I certainly don't understand it all, and I've asked many questions about it. So I would like to see, for council's understanding, why the SBC would suggests that we don't need to do anything with unrestricted surplus if we don't understand what it totally is. So that's my comment on these, you know, when we're, Amanda's done her best, but I think we still, there is a policy in Brazeau County that has, I think it's 8.6% of, I don't want to waste time looking through my documents, I researched it all the other day, but there's got to be a way to address unrestricted surplus and have council be very clear on what that is and what we want to do with it, or if we want to have a maximum number in our unrestricted surplus based on our small budget and all that it encompasses. Councillor Moore?
In the information that was brought to the SPC, there were pages of policies by other municipalities and some information about each one of them, and certainly there was, that was one of them, and there are many others as well. And best practices is what I think they're going for when they're looking at addressing all of the examples that we were being given and the possibilities of being able to do that and how it folds into asset management plans. So there's just some more work to be done, and I think when it comes back, it will have all of that sorted out.
So can it come back, I appreciate that, can it come back then with a clear understanding of the unrestricted surplus for all of council when we make these, when we are voting on the motions? Because I think it's still on my mind, and if, I can't direct you what to do as SPC, but that would help me to support recommendations if I really totally understood that unrestricted surplus.
About a definition at the beginning?
Well, just even everything it all encompasses and what it means to us as councillors and as on our audit spreadsheet, which is what our audit report. And I know Amanda's, but I guess I'm asking for it to be dummied down for like what are those books called? For, you know, the dummies, the unrestricted surplus for dummies, I don't know. But I'd really, that would help me to feel comfortable why it wouldn't be addressed more thoroughly, if I could suggest that, and whether or not you do that. Certainly will be in your conversation. So that's the only comment, and I am kind of transfixed on that. Other than that, we have a motion. And are there any other comments about this? I'll call the vote then. All in favor? That's carried. We have item 8.8, our beloved graduate, high school graduate scholarship. Councillor Williams?
Thank you, Mayor. I move to accept the awarding of the Town of Didsbury High School Scholarship as information pending the discussion in closed session.
Okay. That's fair. I'll call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. We have item 8.9, the council summer schedule. Councillor Baswick. Oh, you didn't get your hand up quick enough, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. That the August 22nd, 2023 regular council meeting be removed from the calendar schedule.
Pretty simple, hey? Any questions or comments? Councillor Williams?
The question is, why are we removing it?
Well, I can answer some of that. And a 5-week turnaround is just too short. It doesn't, the staff, our administrative team gets a break. They have 3 weeks and then they get back to work to start our agenda formulation again. So it doesn't allow time for staff to, summer is the time. Many councils do this for 8 weeks, 7 weeks. And it needs to afford our entire administrative team to take that much needed break from a very, I think very, we've had a lot of work on our desk, and it's nice to have that break. So And the option for council was too, that we can always call a special council meeting if we feel we need one at the end of August, and otherwise the break will stand. It's not so much a break for council, it's a break for our administrative team to be able to get them their summer in and then get refreshed and get back to work. Because they don't get refreshed all year until the summer break. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Yes, it does. Thank you, Mayor.
We're still working, we're just.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I'm not saying you're not. I'm just thinking, like, for me, like, that 5 weeks is too long, and I would like to get back to work. That's just.
You've been away for 4
Yeah, there's exactly.
I know, that's why I'm working some more meetings in. I miss you guys. I miss you, Council Patrick. So because of that reason, I'm gonna vote no, but I completely understand why.
I'll do my best to call a special council meeting for you at the end of August. We'll try to drum something up.
Just right.
Just right. And I think maybe we'll be more mindful of it next year, because if we need the end of June meeting and the July one, and maybe for next year we come back at the end of August, but take the first one in July off, and then it kind of sorts out a little better. But we have too much on our plate for the next 2 meetings again to defer that to the end of August. So, do we have the motion? We'll call the vote. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. We'll miss you, Councillor Williams.
That's not good.
The office is open. You can come and sit in here if you like.
Awesome.
Okay. All right, we have item 9, correspondence. Sure.
I move the council accept the correspondence items presented as information.
Any comments or questions on correspondence? Councillor Winter?
Thank you, Mayor Hunter. I thought it was interesting that the Ukrainian-Canadian Congress invited us to their event, but didn't tell us where it was.
That's what my people do.
Would it be fair to say they didn't want any Russian soldiers there? Maybe? Say soldiers in particular, not their citizens. Okay, we have the motion to accept it as information. I'll call the vote. All in favor? That's carried. We have council meeting highlights. I'm going to start in the order that I finished in, which would be, me.
You get the best.
Yeah. I'm really excited about, I'm going to just go in advance. It's always a special time of year to be able to award our high school scholarships, and so whoever they be awarded to after our discussion, I think we're very proud of our graduates, and I think I know we're very proud to sponsor that scholarship. That's why I went first. Councillor Moore.
I'm going to say that the winter camping report, that is, I think, one of the most welcoming and inclusive and beautiful and a nice thing to see when you come into town in winter and in summer. And it's been looked after extremely well, and I really appreciate it. And anytime you go down there, the welcome that you get. So it includes the community as well, and I think we have a bargain.
Thank you for that. Councillor Windsor?
I won't do as much as a speech and just say East Reservoir.
That makes sense. That has been your pet project.
5 years.
Councillor Baswick?
You just scared me.
Oh, Councillor Baswick. Sorry.
Well,
sorry about that.
I think I'm quite excited about the summer schedule. Thank you very much. That's my focus. So that I know it's disappointing to my colleague over there, but I'm looking forward to the wonderful time that I'll have from July 16th. That means we have to do a meeting in July.
Yes, the sole meeting in July.
That's unfair. Should be 2
I
months.
think we should call a special council meeting just for John and myself.
Yeah,
I'll do my
well,
best.
see, I know Councilor Williams is so used to the legislature having 8 months off.
Right. They're actually going back toward the end of October. So is that it? That's
Hey,
one day?
no, we come back next week.
Oh, for one day?
2 days.
Oh, okay. Deputy Mayor.
There's a couple here that I'm probably gonna just take them all. What? Oh, okay, well then I will go with the Bethany Care Special Project. I think that's gonna be a nice enhancement for not only the seniors, but residents that want to have a nice place to go for a walk and have a sit down and possibly sit and chat with a senior. They really, really appreciate that.
Yes. Councillor Williams.
I think it's only fair that I get a say too now, or multiple since you skipped me. I'm gonna say the mill and overlay.
And on behalf of council, we're all very excited about the new area structure plan. And, so I think that, yeah, we'll capture that for sure and look forward to the future of that plan. But, okay, so is there anyone, there's one person in the gallery, would he like to speak?
I will.
Okay.
It'll be quick.
We know you. Phil?
3 or 4 hours.
Did you just say you'll be quick?
It'll be quick. I just want to start by saying thank you for the past project and the current idea of moving on with the winter camping. On behalf of my family and the extended family that is down there, it offers an awesome place for us to live, and we all appreciate that. So thank you very much. And I know I may wear the wrong colors, but I still feel like I'm part of the team down there. And I will get a good shovel. Simmer down.
You are on the wrong.
Thanks for that, Phil.
Thank you.
Good luck with it. Have a great summer. What? Okay, so I guess we can have a moment to go close at 7:57. Councillor Baswick, all in favor? It's carried. We get 3 minutes.
Gee, thanks.
Thanks, Phil.
Pretty sure we're not gonna need this.
I feel.
Who moved to go open?
Me.
Councillor Moore.
And all of us were in favor.
She can't record that.
Has anybody ever voted against that?
You're live.
We're good? Okay.
wanted to call it
Our first motion is the Didsbury High School Scholarship to Sadie Gray. Would like to make that?
I'd be happy to make that.
Okay. Councillor Windsor, Didsbury High School Scholarship recipients, Sadie Gray. Call the vote, all in favor? That's carried. We have an item to direct administration to reiterate to Sean's Village Land Group the message as conveyed by council.
Previously conveyed by council.
Previously conveyed by council. Who would like to make that? Councillor Moore? All in favor? We have a motion to pause our pre-council meeting engagement sessions and not resume them in September. Just pause, yeah, not resume in September. Is that good wording?
I mean, I guess the order doesn't matter, but there's the number, item 3, so just a motion to approve the mayor and CAO.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't
to
think we made a
explore land
motion.
strategies as discussed.
Yes, I'll make that.
Okay. Call the vote, all in favor? And now we can do the pre-council engagement. Pause for summer break and not resume in September. Councillor Baswick? Call the vote, all in favor? Opposed? It's carried. And to approve for Hunter to participate in the female elected officials networking group. Councillor Williams? Call the vote, all in favor? That's carried. I had to look at
Why
this.
are you looking at us?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
And
I would.
did you need anything else? Ethan, are we? I think that's it.
Yes.
Okay. Motion to adjourn at 9:20. Councillor Williams, all in favor? That's carried. Thanks, everyone.